Where are my roaches? Where are my banelings? Hopefully, I'll get some of that later this week. Anyways, in the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of the Swedish Zerg player who recently moved to Canada, and that's why he's playing in the North American region. It is Namshar.
And his opponent in the northeast position, the blue Protoss player, he is PiLiPiLi.
As soon as I joined the game, Billy's like, "Oh, hey Roddy, it's been a long time since you casted me." I was like, "Yep." I literally just said that on the broadcast. It's been many years. Obviously, there was a time that we casted PiLiPiLi all the time together during the WCS North America. You know, he was kind of an exciting young and up-and-coming Protoss. I'll never forget the fantastic performance he had at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018, but quite a few years ago. And he surprised all of us by almost making it out of his group. Had a nail-biting PvP game against one of the Korean Protosses that came over back then. But he truly overperformed that event. And then he started playing other games for a little while. I know that he's very good in a certain MOBA. But it's good to see that he's back and still enjoying some StarCraft 2.
Yeah, it's nice to see him. I mean, this is one of the old regulars, right, that we would have in our WCS events and whatnot, competing in the NA events and Challenger and all that jazz. And Namshar had a kind of a rough showing, honestly, getting into after he switched to NA. I think it takes a little bit of time getting used to how some of these people play, because, you know, the thing about StarCraft that makes it such a good game is it does boil down to, at some point, where if you're not the Serral or Raynor, where you can just do the right thing so perfectly nothing can ever kill you, you get into this like muddied water situation where it's like it's not always clear what the best answer is, because what may seem obvious may actually be the entire point of your opponent doing this strategy, so that you fall into a trap, right? And that's something that's a very popular motif you'll see across a lot of NA play styles. Because of that, it's like, oh, you know, I mean, even Masa, right? Like half of the things that he does when he's not cheesing are fake cheeses, just so that you never know. Are they efficient? Absolutely not. Do they work? Yeah, they work very often, because how can you possibly know? You know, that's the RNG element to StarCraft, is the human condition and why people make their choices. You know, people don't think the same way all the time, and that's a big impact on it. Overlord trying to kind of bait this stalker out a bit for the links, but nothing to be found there.
That's actually very cool. I didn't know, but apparently the adept on the high ground gives vision to the stalker to get a couple of shots on this overlord. Now I'm just trying to figure out, how do I hide it? Is there a way to hide it? And now the adept is going to provide vision again. Right. Yep. Well done. I actually, learned something new. PiLiPiLi, excellent.
you know the map makers are evil when you have to go to a specific spot to get around the blockers they put so that a unit on the high ground can't see it. But yeah, I guess there's a spot. Now I'm actually glad to know that there is a spot you can put a unit where it will be able to see the overlord there, because if you try to go close to it, it's set up so that you can't. But that's actually a very important thing we all just learned together. Write that one down, boys and girls. That could win you a game when someone gets mad at you.
You know, the funny thing is that Namshar did actually have a pretty decent performance in his first season in North America. It was a bit disappointing. He didn't make top 2 in the group back then, but he won 5 of his 7 matches. Just finished behind Future and Australia back then. Nothing to be very ashamed of or upset. Beat TLO in the lower bracket and then lost to Scarlet. Well, you know, that's an all-right run. It's obviously not the run of dreams, but that's something to be pretty satisfied with. Just kind of came out of nowhere that he has such a tough time in the DreamHack SC2 2 Masters fall, and I know that he's was very unhappy with it. And Namshar in general always strikes me as a guy who does have a lot of motivation, and he truly wants to show everyone how good he really is. Well, it's time to show that today, as PiLiPiLi is already making his way with some very fancy plays to the other side of the map. Gets a queen and gets a little bit of economic damage as well with the adept. And Nate, there isn't much in the main base. I would like to see Billy split up the adept right now. Leave 2 in the natural and send 4 into the main. Instead, he sends all 4 into the main. I actually think there was more value to go 2 and 2.
Yeah, definitely trying to split the attention could have done a little bit more work. I mean, his 6 drones The worst for 4 adepts, maybe. Is it? I don't know. I guess I'd have to ask the expert on that one.
No, I think it's pretty good for PiLiPiLi. I think you can be quite happy with this. Don't forget.
Do you think he could have done more?
Oh,
is that what you're saying? He just could have done more if he had split him, probably.
What is this? Is he just like trying to? Either he's preparing for the super late game, or this is the mind game of the century. Because we see a lot of extra gateways and a robotics facility being warped in. PiLiPiLi is right now hoping that Namshar spots the cybernetics core. Wow, this is some big brain NA gameplay. I don't know if Namshar is paying attention, but the entire +1 air weapons, Nate, is super fake. Ooh, I'm getting a little excited. I kind of like this Pili with big brain plays.
Yeah, this is super smart because it's also extremely meta, especially in NA, for people to do that. So he might be saying to Namshar, hey, buddy, you should just go build a crap ton of Hydralisks now and get ready for me to try to kill you. And all of a sudden he sees that. He's like, wait a second, do I need to be building roaches? But does he have the time and the larva to get what he needs? He's already starting to spine. Hey, Pili may have been able to pull the wool over Namshar's eyes here, Kev.
Yep, that Nexus has been cancelled as well. So if you guys were wondering, is Pili all in with this or not? The answer is yes. He is very, very all in. It takes a little while for these units to make their way to the other side of the map, though. I feel like it's a big brain strategy, but it may just hit a tiny bit too late. Because if Namshar can defend this of 63 drones, I think he's always going to be able to defend it. But you still got to respect the power of these Immortals, the Sentries as well. The Oracle's taking a lot of damage. You want to keep those Oracles alive. Where are we running, PiLiPiLi? This feels like such a bizarre position to put yourself in, but he's doing it, Nate.
Yeah, it's an awkward spot to be in, but he's limited the surface area of the drones that can get on top of the army while the Ravagers are trying to hit that Warp Prism. It is still alive. Only one Bile was able to connect, but the Immortal is getting targeted down. That falling definitely takes a lot of wind out of the sails here because we still have a tremendous number of roaches that are being pushed out by Namshar. And this is what I'm talking about, that adjustment, the flexibility, being able to say, okay, I think this might be happening. Yes, you may have maybe think that you were going to go for the Stargate, but now you are a 2-base Protoss with no army, no upgrades, and not even a 3rd base on the way. Starts a Robo Bay, and I guess we transition into the phase of let's pretend to be M-canning and see if we can come back and win this one.
You know, if PiLiPiLi wouldn't have cancelled his Nexus, this wouldn't even have been that bad. It wouldn't have been great, but it'd be like, well, 44 workers against 44. Obviously, Zerg can produce workers a bit quicker than Protoss can, but it's pretty playable, especially if you land 1 or 2 good Novas indeed. As a 2-base Protoss, I have a hard time believing that you're very happy with the amount of damage that was dealt there. Even though a lot of workers did go down, I just don't think it's going to be enough because it's going to take such a long time for Pili to be able to get a proper, strong late-game macro army going right now.
Yeah. Well, if you can get up enough disruptors, they say a disruptor in a dream, anything is possible. I guess there's a world where you could get some big juicy hits. The 4th base isn't the fastest one that we've ever seen from a Zerg player either, so it's not like Namshar's in a position to go mega runaway mode with the eco. I do think having the 3rd over the natural is still kind of pushing that, but I'm trying to find silver linings here. I'm just not seeing a tremendous amount of them.
Yeah, the good news is that Namshar, or at least good news for Pili, is that Namshar in the past has been ultra passive in some games where he really shouldn't have been. Maybe if he now runs to the other side of the map and he eats 1 Nova to the face, he's going to be like, oh my god, I don't want to throw this game. And then we're just going to get ready for like a 25-minute game on Juggernaut. So you can see that Namshar doesn't like attacking, man. Like, he's traumatized. Something must have happened in his early years in StarCraft 2. But I know that this man is not very comfortable in running to the other side of the map, no matter how big his army advantage may be. There are 3 disruptors. Nate, it's actually possible for Pili to just convincingly defend this, I would say.
Yeah. Hey, the thing is, there's not like there's creep here. If the disruptor count gets high enough that you can zone away, there's a lot you can still do. Gets a decent kind of forest field. I guess getting...
Oh, no! Why did you do that? Why did he pull the Nova back?
I think he had both selected and tried to pull the one back that was going too far forward. That wasn't shooting, but it actually pulled both back with the shot. Because you can issue commands to the Nova from the disruptor itself, right? So I think that might be how that happened.
Oh, that's sad because that disruptor shot kind of came out of nowhere, and I think it really could have landed in the center of the pack of the roaches, and that would have definitely put some fear into Namshar. Now, Pili is gonna move out. He has built a couple of additional probes, but honestly not that many. He doesn't want to play ultra late game here. He's got no desire to go up against Vipers, Brood Lords, Lurkers, and all their fancy upgrades. PiLiPiLi just wants to win this game, but Nate, with this army, it's actually possible. If you land good force fields and you land 1 or 2 Novas, as crazy as it is, he may be down 60 supply, but this is actually very possible.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely created the opportunity for himself. The most important thing was not losing the disruptors in any of these fights, and because it's still such a lower tech type of army, but I mean, as long as these files keep landing center mass, eventually it will be overwhelmed. Like, Namshar's supply is crazy high, but with how big and chonky these roaches and ravagers are, good disruptor hits are always going to be a possibility. If he gets 3 spread out across this mass, it is all going to die. But Namshar is just kind of playing a little bit of tappy toes over here, kind of going in, stepping right back out immediately. You don't know which disruptors are about to come back off of cooldown. So with the range advantage that they have over the Biles, we just get to watch this very awkward dance. You know, it's the Protoss versus Zerg, almost like a little mating ritual. We get to see with the armies just going back and forth. Neither one of them is really willing to commit to this yet, but yeah, that's it. That's my analysis of this. I feel like I'm watching a Twitch clip that's 10 seconds long. It's just repeating over and over again.
I gotta say, great micro by Namshar here, though. A, making sure he doesn't eat any Novas to the face, and B, just keeping this army at bay with non-stop corrosive ball, doing a really good job in splitting his army over and over again. Still not really taking a lot of damage. Roaches have now counterattacked and are in the natural Philly. So if Philly wasn't on the clock yet, he's really on the clock now. That's why he's gonna run into it, but now he's eating a couple of very big corrosive balls into the middle of his army. And the thing is, look at that bank as well, Nate. It's not just... PiLiPiLi doesn't just need to kill this army. He now needs to kill this army 3 times.
Yeah, quite a few times. Quite a few times to get through this, and that disruptor count goes down, and so does Pili. Namshar takes game number 1, and hey, considering the way that started with that big push, not really being able to punch it in, I just got to give all the credit in the world for the way that... Pili at least made it seem like there was going to be an opportunity. The Roach counterattack obviously put an end to all dreams. But, if Namshar makes one slip up with that back and forth, I mean, I joked about how it looked like it was the same thing over and over, but all you need is one of those 2 players to make one mistake, and then either the Biles wipe out half your army, or the corrosive Bile, or the Novas wipe out their whole army.
Yeah. No, I gotta say, Namshar made that look easy, but what Namshar was doing there was really not that easy, because he was always moving 2 armies at once and just did a really good job in spamming those balls non-stop, keeping those disruptors at bay, making it so difficult for PiLiPiLi to actually run forward. Because you don't want to be the Protoss that, runs deep into creep and it's like, oh my goodness, I just stepped in a rain of corrosive ball. Then half of your army disappears and you're like, well, maybe able to land 1 good Nova now, but that's not enough. So well done by Namshar. Excellent game. I still kind of like what Pili was going for. I thought it was a cool build. I just think he really messed up the execution of the first attack. He went so deep in the natural, and I'm like, for what? Like, his army was pretty powerful. As a Zerg, it's really uncomfortable when you've got like units coming in from the right side and units kind of like bottled up in the natural. So I wish he would have just taken a little bit more time, rely on good force fields, rely on the Immortal to get some good shots up on the roaches, rather than run into the natural and get surrounded by drones, roaches, queens, and all the good stuff that Zerg has to offer.
Yeah, we've seen that a few times today, right? We've had some players make pretty aggressive pushes into like a natural, or trying to force something by like the cliff of the main. I think back to even like the TVP when like there's sometimes a 3rd base that's wide open, or the 3rd base has all the batteries and they keep trying to attack that instead of going for the natural. And it's just been such a topsy-turvy day of games when it comes to players trying to make those big attacks. We've only seen so many of them be successful, as we've had quite a few great defensive plays today. I think is really worth pointing out. Yeah, oof. It's been a long day, man.
Yeah, you tell me. It's past midnight over here, mate.
Well, I'll tell you what. I tell you, we haven't been sleeping very well over here. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm looking forward to how this one's gonna resolve. And yeah. Namshar's looking good though. Namshar's looking good.
My prime time though, Nate. When you wake up at 4 p.m., there is no better time than midnight. In the bottom left side of Oxide, we're looking at the main base of our Protoss player. He is down 0-1. It is PiLiPiLi.
His opponent in the northeast, the red Zerg player, he is Namshar.
Definitely think that Namshar is low-key hoping to steal one of those coveted spots for the season finals. In this region, you need to make top 2. In Europe, if you make top 4, you qualify for the season finals, so you can duke it out with the Koreans. The 4 Koreans that made top 4 the last GSL, and then the 2 Korean players who won the Korean play-ins, which were Innovation and Trap, I believe. Yeah, if I recall correctly. Yeah, pretty sure it was Inno and Trap. So
yeah, that's awesome. Gonna be some good competitors. I think that's always one of the most fun parts. We get into the whole, debate and debacle about the servers and blah blah blah. I'm gonna say, it is what it is. The games are still exciting to see. It's still fun to watch. After a whole season of all of this, I think that's probably one of my favorite parts about this format is that not only do we get to see everybody able to compete within their region, right, with minimal latency and all that jazz against people that they have experience against, but then we also get to see the best of those players all get to go up against each other. And, considering the capacity that we have available, with how things have gone this year, I have absolutely no complaints with the way that it's been rolling. I feel like, ESL and DreamHack doing the best that they absolutely can in regards to setting all of this up. And it's been awesome to follow.
Yeah, I think the season finals indeed have been very fun, and they have provided us with some fantastic games. I mean, Clam, Raynor, Cero always showing up in a very big way. And can't forget to mention Trap, who has made it to the season finals in both seasons. So technically doing even better than the Europeans. He just didn't win one yet, Nate. But after Cero won the first season finals and Raynor won the second season finals, both of them did have to take down Trap. So I am very excited to see Trap make it to the season finals of Winter again as well, and see how he does against the very best that the foreign scene and of course Korea has to offer.
Yeah.
Ooh. What? That's
a very fast lair. Right?
What?
That's like a
so
Bly.
big.
That's a Bly lair right there. That's what.
Yes, absolutely.
So
well,
is
even
it
Bly
one base muta or?
No. I mean, if it was Cats, I'd be like maybe, but this has to be Queen Nidus. If this is not Queen Nidus, then I don't know what it is, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, well, there's the Roach Warren starting up too, and we are going to see.
Yeah, Queen Roach Nidus, of course.
When the lair finishes.
And that could actually do very well against Adepts with Resonating Glaives, if you ask me. I don't think you're gonna have too many Adepts. Adepts don't like fighting Queens. Adepts don't like fighting Roaches. Is that an Overlord on the left side? No. I mean, it could also be 2 base Swarm Hosts. There are some people on the ladder that are crazy enough that they really enjoy that, but I would find that absolutely crazy. So let's see what Namshar decides to do. He's building a lot of drones. Like, this is so crazy.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is it, right? Moment of truth. Roach speed starts. And
He's just gonna macro. He's just gonna macro.
Is it just like is this a meme build? Is he just trying to like catch him off guard, or does he just expect glaives that badly? Is he even going to build enough roaches though with this, I guess, is the next question.
I think he will. I guess this is just something that Namshar likes to do. I personally haven't seen this in a long time. There were a couple of Europeans that opened like this for a while. They're like, no, I'm gonna keep life simple. I'm gonna only worry about protecting 2 mineral lines at first. But I think this build has a lot of downsides. How many roaches do we have right now? 4 with 5 more on the way. I think he should be fine against the Resonating Glaive Adepts. But if I'm Pili, I start attacking this hatchery. This hatchery is not done yet. He doesn't see it. Come on. I actually feel like instead of going for the drones there, if you start attacking that hatch snake with 8 or 9 Adepts with Resonating Glaives and you warp in a few more, that actually becomes very problematic for Namshar.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Like, you can still force. It is possible to overreact even with this type of thing, right? So if the Adepts are there and they're doing all of this, and then the transition behind it comes quickly enough to deal with a swell of roaches, then it doesn't really end up being, like a situation that's going to favor Namshar, because he's going for the Immortal back home. Pili's getting the Immortal. A Robo Bay, we're going to probably see him move pretty quickly into disruptors again, would be my guess. So I am not, I'm not 100% sure which way he wants to commit hard, because it could all just be like, no, with the Robo Bay, it has to be disruptors now, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the only thing that makes sense to me. I don't see a reason to build a Colossi when it's like, my opponent's got 1,000,000 roaches. I really want to get a Colossus here, because then you may as well just keep building Immortals. Immortals are better. Namshar doesn't even have Zergling speed, so it is kind of just going to be roaches for a while. Could be Hydras and Lurkers down the line, but this is a very odd way to get where we are. Like, at this point, you could say, like, that looks kind of standard, but it's a bit strange, the route that Namshar took to get here. But yeah, maybe it's just something he likes to do. I don't know. Every player has their own things. They feel comfortable with different build orders, different openings. I don't really see the benefit of this, but maybe Namshar can prove me wrong.
Yeah, drones are going to get us around on the Adepts in the natural. 4 of them picked off. That's just a Hydralisk and an Evo chamber, and he's going to be dealing with Speed Prism Disruptors. Or I guess it could just be Speed Prism with everything else. I assume Pili will try to expand and just use the Disruptor Harass and try to get a couple of juicy shots with a Warp Prism. And that can work. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of micro, a lot of control. Actually makes me feel better about Namshar's fast lair, because having Roach speed on creep would make it easier to move them out of the way of Disruptor shots, I guess. If I'm looking for things that work together here.
I actually thought he already had a Hydra then, but he's building another one now. But that's the only one, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just making up Hydra dens at this point. The Warp Prism with the 2 Disruptors is going to make its way to the other side of the map. Can we get a Nova? The answer is yes, but it doesn't connect with anything. I gotta say, Namshar is really impressing me with his ability to avoid every single Nova that's been thrown at him so far.
He's done a good job of dodging. He's going to fly over the 3rd, keep the units over there, try to go straight into the natural. Drones are already on the run, so I mean, hey, I guess that's some kind of damage, right? Didn't mind for half a second.
Well, 65 drones. I think that Namshar is okay with that damage.
Yeah. Can't even hit a single Ravager on the end there. Brutal. Namshar's doing well. At the very least, this is keeping Namshar at home, right? Pili's able to get that 3rd Nexus, get that probe count somewhat up a little bit, and move into Colossi. Did he get extended thermal lance?
Not yet.
Okay.
Very weird.
He's got a regular old Colossus just chilling there. Okay, that's
well, that Colossus could be used to break his own force fields. That's the nice thing about having one Colossus in the mix. So you can basically drop a line of force fields, kill those units, and then move forward and kill your own force fields. So in that way, I can see how that makes a little bit of sense. But if I know that my opponent is building a whole bunch of Hydras, I definitely wouldn't mind getting thermal lens, and I wouldn't mind getting a few more Colossi. I think he just forgot at this point, mate.
Yeah, not a good thing to forget, especially with the 2nd Colossus on the way, and that is not going to make things any easier. But you know, at the same time, I think you said it beautifully, Roddy. What Namshar is going to do if he gets ahead is just take another base, go up to the Hive, get a Lurker Den, all these extra upgrades. So maybe there's enough of an investment into tech and infrastructure and upgrades right now that he can't get out an army that can deal with this just yet.
I mean, this is a pretty terrifying Protoss army, but it looks more scary than it really is, because a lot of the gateway units are kind of useless, right? The Stalkers don't have Blink, they don't have any upgrades. The Sentries, well, they're just simple Sentries. Yes, they do have a lot of energy, but that's it. The Adepts, they don't really add that much against Roaches and Hydras, so this army looks more terrifying than it really is, but there are still 2 Disruptors in the mix, and 1 or 2 Novas can really turn this game upside down. First one finally connects with a single Ravager.
And the 2nd Colossus shows up, and I think we still, right, no range. So they are not going to be able to do the normal kind of poking and prodding that you would typically want to with Colossi, and that is going to cause the army to move a little bit closer and be more susceptible to getting hit by those corrosive vials.
And it's really hard to avoid them with the army that Pili is working with. I also think going home is not really an option, because Pili, like, his upgrades are so incredibly late. Hive Tech is on the way already, so I kind of like that he's just going for it at this point. I wish that he just kept going. Maybe he wants to get a few more extra units out of the Warp Prism. He's going to warp in a few units, drops good force fields, finally catches a couple of the Roaches and Ravages, but this is not really working out yet for our Protoss.
Yeah, he's just trying to move up through a choke point against AoE attacks. it's never going to go well. And there's not, and as you said, these units all lacking upgrades. It's just like, yes, I got something that looks like a regular, normal, good army, except it doesn't have any of the features of a regular, good, normal army.
I wanted to make a joke, but let's just say it's not made in America, Nate. This army is not as good as what it's supposed to be. There's a couple forts, but do go down for the last time. The energy is really starting to run very low right now on these sentries. As one additional sentry falls to a corrosive ball. That Nova whistles well. Phenomenal job by Namshar once again in avoiding these purification Novas non-stop that PiLi has been throwing at him. Honestly, very impressive. It's so easy to mess up against it. It's so easy to eat a big one in the center of your Hydras and Roaches. During all of this, I finished up. Vipers on the way right now. There is nothing that's good against Vipers right now. Blinding Cloud would be sick against Stalkers that don't have Blink. But obviously, Abduct against the Colossi or Disruptors is also going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, this is just PiLi beating his head against a wall, right? He hasn't tried to change the angle of attack. We haven't seen another prism made or some other prism taken to try and get a backstab warp in during all of this. He just says, hey, I'm going to attack you from this angle, and we're going to be here for about 4 minutes now until you get something that can kill me. And that is what has happened in this game, because now the Vipers are out. Now you click on the Colossus, you kill the Colossus, and you repeat until the game is over.
Yeah, we don't know. Oh, Nova finally won with a massive shot. That is a money shot. Now the Viper goes down as well. So Namshar, after being perfect against those units for the longest time, does finally slip up. And now PiLi's like, oh my goodness, I want more. I'm going to send my weapons forward. Can he get that shot off? No, he cannot, as Namshar does a great job in taking out that Disruptor before it can fully connect with those units. If Blink is done, do we believe in Blink Stalkers and +1? It seems unlikely, but there is a tiny chance, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not able to continue to keep that control up, losing the Vipers was definitely brutal. The Warp Prism is still alive, and he's eaten some vials, but he's just going to do it with mostly just a Disruptor and a lot of mass unupgraded Stalkers.
Yeah, that Colossi went down, but that Nova once again landed in the center of the Roaches and Hydra, so this actually becomes a bit weird right now. I really feel that Namshar should use Blinding Cloud, as silly as it sounds, but it's actually very annoying to deal with Blinding Cloud when you have this many chunky Stalker boys.
Yes, it is. I mean, they can't blink out, right? Did he ever get that? Did we see that? I know Charge is on the way. So that could be useful. Okay, he does have it. There you go. That's a great way to show us. Jumps right on top of that army and seemingly overwhelmed a lot of the forces there through even that blinding cloud. Hydras have great DPS, not so much the tank ability though. And some of these units, they're getting move commanded through. That's never good, Kev.
Nope, and Namshar is in serious trouble. PiLi with another ambitious forward blink is going to make his way into the natural. That Nova connects as well. The drones are probably not going to make the difference here. A lot of circlings are on the way. Like Namshar has 1,700 minerals in the bank, but he can't spend it because PiLi has done a great job in denying the fourth hatchery from going up. And that means that Namshar just didn't have enough gas income to keep building the units that he wanted to build.
Yeah, drones getting pulled off the third is definitely not a situation that you want to be in. The Hydras are going to try to come push this back with the Ling support since all of the power units are gone from this army. But is the number of Stalkers themselves actually high enough? I mean, they do have the +1 attack as well with this. The Hydralists have +2, though. He's trying to get up close and personal since those Hydras move so fast on creep. But another warping of them seems to have come in from that right side. But Hydra's not terrible here, huh?
Nope, not at all. I actually didn't think that Namshar still had that many Hydras. He's going to find a Prism as well on the right side. Can PiLi save it? The answer is no. And during all of this, the hatchery did go up on the top left. So Namshar can immediately start saturating that extractor. It got very close there. At one point, I actually thought that PiLi kind of broke Namshar, but the Zerg barely able to squeeze out enough units. Now we get thermal lens, but it's still going to be just as hard as before to keep these Colossi alive if you don't have any High Templars on the field with feedback.
Yeah, going into Lurkers is going to complicate things for that ground army as well. Something very important to consider with the way that is going to be set up. And there's Colossus range, by the way. At long last.
Can't believe that we just saw that fight. It's such a bizarre fight with all the stalkers getting blinding clouded and then more blinding clouds going down after the forward blink happened as well. It was such a funny fight. And for the amount of units that Namshar had there, he got a phenomenal trade. He just didn't have that many units. Now, PiLi is blinking into an area where there are 2 lurkers, and I don't see an observer with his army. There is no observer on the map right now. PiLi's like, you know what? I don't give a damn. I'm going to avoid those lurkers. I'm going to try to take out this hatchery, and he will succeed in doing so. Are we going to recall this army? The answer is yes. What a weird recall. As the Colossi goes down, a whole bunch of stalkers go down as well. I don't even know what just happened there, but I know that Namshar is not happy about losing another base because he wants more gas income.
Yeah, so, and you know what? This doesn't get any easier, though, because Seismic Spines is done, which means the lurkers are now going to outrange the Colossi completely. They already did, because the Colossi didn't have their own range upgrade for a really long time, but regardless, they're still going to outrange them by a little bit more than they were before. And that is something that you really have to take into consideration, because they really are amazing at zoning out that space. They remove area that you can traverse through, and then once you get the burrow upgrade for them, well, they can just kind of walk up to your army, burrow, and kill it all. So you need to be very, very, very careful, very on top of the way that you approach this if you are PiLiPiLi, but it is still mostly stalkers, and we know that lurkers love stalkers.
Yes. I mean, I've made that joke before, but there's a reason why a couple of people retired after Heart of the Swarm. They're like, what? I can't just make stalkers and beat every Zerg anymore? It's like, well, I'm out of here. That's it. This is where I draw the line. Now, obviously what stalkers do have is a lot of mobility. Lurkers are not that immobile, obviously, as soon as they have those adaptive talents, like you mentioned as well, but maybe there is still some wiggle room for PiLiPiLi. I don't know. It's been a fun game, but I can't help but feel that I thought that he had him. I really thought that PiLi had Namshar on the ropes, but those Zerg units just kept streaming in from every angle. And now it obviously looks a lot better for the Swedish Zerg.
Yeah, this is where things start to tilt a little bit out of control when you're dealing with these armies. The Destructive Shot 1 lands on one of the lurkers, but without High Templar here, okay, well, I guess that doesn't, you don't need High Templar after the Vipers walk straight into the army. There we go. That one grabs a Colossus and a Disruptor. I was going to say, without High Templar, the potential for the lurkers to just pull anything. Like in this type of situation, if your opponent wants to try and keep like 15 stalkers in front, and you can get a decent number of Vipers out, just start abducting the stalkers, right? Like, just kill everything.
Very cool that just a couple of random adapts killed 13 drones on the top left side. I mean, that's going to help out a little bit. I was like, Namshar really doesn't have that many drones. He did rebuild them immediately, so the Swedish Zerg is back to 71. Obviously, I'm loving his position at this point, but you know, PiLi is a crazy, scrappy player that can sometimes make magic happen in these kind of weird scenarios. But at this point, it's very simple. His army is simply not good enough. PiLi needs to get a better army, maybe indeed way more disruptors. Loving the adept harass again on the top left side. Nate, he just killed 13 drones, now he's killing 14. That's 27 works going down. The armies are clashing as well. PiLi should get the hell out of here, because he knows he's been building a lot of disruptors. Just fall back to this. There's no need to lose your entire army right now.
And that's the hard thing. You're fighting without the full actual force of your army. Stalkers alone are not going to be able to cut it against this. And if you don't have High Templar, Vipers are going to have a field day with you. That's just the way it is. You need to have those counters set in place. They exist for a reason, but once you start to engage a bunch of entrenched lurkers with just Blink Stalkers, is when you see a lot of units die. It's going to hallucinate a bunch of Stalkers, hoping that this is going to do something. The Disruptor shots actually do land in the middle of some of the lurkers, but there are just a lot of lurkers, Rotterdam. There's a lot of them, and they're going to kill everything.
Yep, and the good news is you don't even need a lot of lurkers to be great against stalkers, right? Stalkers do like to clump up as well after you blink them. So even if just a couple survive, it is good enough for the Zerg. And that is how Namshar will take the 2-0 lead. But I'm sure he was sweating a little bit this game, because that one fight with all the blinding clouds was hectic. Afterwards, PiLi getting so excited, maybe a bit overeager, thinking forward into the natural. And eventually, somehow, Namshar got enough Hydras out. Still, I'm not exactly sure how it happened. Did have a big bank. Not much gas, though. Anyways, we'll be right back for our, well, third game of this series and potentially the last break of the day. I know you guys are excited for last break of the day. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the DreamHack Masters StarCraft 2. I'm Nathanius, joined by Rotterdam, and we are currently looking at a 2-0 lead in this best of 5 for Namshar over PiLiPiLi. Kev, it's been a tough series. I mean, PiLiPiLi went through the majority of that last game with hardly any upgrades, got Blink, used it to dive straight into 30 Hydralisks, and unfortunately did not end up being able to pull that one out.
No, but he made it super close, and at one point I really thought he had it. So I actually thought that was a fun game, and I liked the way that Pili played it, where he just tried to deny the 4th base over and over again, and then eventually hit with a pretty powerful army. I am getting some strong-hearted the Swarm vibes of Pili, though, and those were perhaps his glory days, but we'll talk more about that later. Let's introduce these nerds. On the top left side, we're looking at the main base of the Swedish Zerg player who is currently living in Canada. It is Namshar.
And his opponent in the southeast position, we have the blue Protoss player. He is PiLiPiLi.
It was really funny when Pili marched towards the top left with that army in game 2, because it looked like a really beastly, monstrous army, right? But then it's like, let's take a real close look at what we have here. And it was basically 24 Stalkers with no Blink, no attack upgrades, and then 2 Colossi with no Thermal Lens, which I do believe was just a mistake. He probably forgot about that. A bit odd. What is also odd is that Namshar is going to build a hatchery on the other side of the map. Really wasn't exactly sure how he wanted to deal with this. At first there were like 5 probes heading towards the low ground. Then he's like, no, I'm gonna go with 3. He goes double gate as well.
So, is there any particular reason why he might do that as a response? Is he just worried about Lings coming towards the front, or?
Yeah. But I don't know if he saw the extractor. No, he hasn't gone into the main base yet. So that is something to definitely be worried about. There are a couple of crazy Zerg openings, but I feel like if you know Namshar, you know that he's doing this from a macro point of view. You know, just trying to force out the wrong reaction out of PiLiPiLi, and then just hope that he can get ahead by expanding on his side of the map, while really delaying the Protoss expand. I wonder, what do you think? He's gonna let the next or the hatchery finish up or not? Probably not, right?
No way, right? Like almost everybody, most of the time you see people cancel this unless they're trying to do some
Evo chamber,
some wild stuff where they like either Evo chamber or they have some sort of like meme tactic planned around the broodlings, right? Where they're like, oh, surround the zealot, run the lings through the front. But I think those are all things that are like way too adventurous to just try and randomly pull off like that. Most people don't try it. I see a lot of canceled.
Are we going to see another hatchery? Another hatchery in the main? Build a hatchery? Yes, he is going to build a hatchery in the main base. And now it's actually kind of working out, Nate. Because if you take a look at his vision, what does he really see that's out on the map? Nothing. And he's like, do I really want to use my adepts to deal with this? Well, maybe, but I guess not. I'm just going to go move out. I'm going to try to kill some drones with my adepts on the other side of the map. But there are roaches heading towards the natural PiLiPiLi. He needs indeed at least 1 battery, but I wouldn't mind a 2nd or a 3rd battery, because Namshar is actually very all in with this opening. He's doing all of this of only 16 drones.
Yeah, so bold attack. I mean, you're up 2-0. He's probably thinking about his plans for this evening as well. So I guess his plan is to see if he can try and pull off some shenanigans here and close this one out. But there's 2 adepts that are making their way over there, just a roach and a few lings to stop it.
I think, okay. Pili realizes what's up. He's immediately going to build a 2nd battery. I think Namshar did a really good job in hiding the roaches that he was rallying towards the other side of the map. PiLiPiLi all of a sudden realizes that this hatchery in the main base is a real threat, because if roaches start appearing in your main as well, it becomes very awkward.
Oh my god. Yeah. It's an income denial tactic, I guess, that freaking drone still was somehow running around.
I think it's one of these builds where if your opponent respawns wrong, you're like, I'm gonna kill him. But at this point, the Overlord saw how many extra batteries were being warped in and saw that it was probably going to be a full wall off as well. So at this point, Namshar's like, all right, now I'm forced to transition out of this. We still have those pesky adepts on the other side of the map that really have done a great job. I like the way that Pili is playing, but I also like a couple of the decisions that Namshar is making right now.
Yeah, well, hey, going into an immortal is not going to be something that you'd be upset about, considering with what ended up starting off this game. That drone, just crazy amounts of micro for that drone inside of PiLiPiLi's main, but information it did gather, right, without having to risk an overlord at least. And I don't really know 100% where you go from here. Okay, lair, yeah. So what's the play off this lair, Kev? Is it, do we get roach speed, take a third, and make it like a weird normal game like last time? Or are we actually going to push the pedal to the floor?
No, I think that could be it. But Namshar did see there was a robo, right? I actually wouldn't mind a Spire here, as crazy as that sounds. But I have the feeling that if Bly was playing this game, he'd be like, oh yeah, this is perfect for Spire, you know? Robo not good. He'd be like, yeah, Bly, that makes sense. But 2-base Spire against Protoss, really? Like, yes, easy money. So I'd kind of like to see it, Nate. I'd kind of like to see it.
Me too. I want to see him throw something crazy out there. If there was a moment, if there was ever a moment to try to do something crazy like that, I think I do believe that this would be that time. So player's about to finish, but there's a prism coming out. And
Spire.
Hey, there you go. Roach speed, and the Ravager.
And a Spire. He's only on 3 gases at this point, but I mean, is he just gonna use triple extractor for nothing but Ravages? 2-base Ravager doesn't sound that intimidating to me, Nathanius.
No, not really. Not really. Especially when you have a prism with immortals. I think if there's one thing that we know, it's that in low eco situations, 2 immortals and a warp prism can kill pretty much anything. in an almost infinite amount of roaches if controlled well. Although maybe that's what could be what ends up deciding this, is some great immortal control or some poor immortal control.
What about 27 Ravages with nothing but corrosive bow? What if you make so many Ravages that you can cover half of the map in corrosive bow all the time?
Well, then I think you'd run into an awkward situation, because to get them in range to actually reach those places, wouldn't you at some point inevitably expose your own Ravagers to the corrosive bows of the others if you were going to cover half the map, though?
Maybe.
You could checkerboard the Ravagers around the map if you checkerboarded. So you need the Terran to lift their command center off the corner of the map first, right? And then if you checkerboard, they can all just bile the spaces in between them, and that could be half the map.
So this is really funny. Namshar is about to, like, I don't know if he's waiting to receive a push or if he's going to be the one attacking. Namshar really has got...
what's going on here?
No. Like, I think that Namshar was just like, I know you're going to attack me. You always attack me. I know that this is what you love to do. So now we're looking at a Zerg who's got 1 million units and 2 hatcheries. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to try to go up to 3 bases anyway. Who cares that I'm down 9 workers? Normally a Zerg would care. At the same time, Nate, we also have 27 roaches counterattacking on the other side of the map. The Immortals do get a cancel on this hatch, so well done, PiLi. Just don't mess up. Like, what are these roaches up to? It's like, that tower is quite a pretty map.
I don't know. I don't know, man. There's a Disruptor. There's a Colossus coming out. He's getting +1 attack. Don't worry, though, guys. He didn't get range this game either, so everything's fine. Oh, okay, there it is. Never mind. Take it all back. Oh, my God. Okay. He's like, yeah, I know that's going to land next to the Immortal, not on the Immortal. I'm like, that's watching those bounds come down. That was pretty scary.
If I was PiLi, I'd be like, does he have a hidden base? How does he have this many units of just 2 bases? That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, all of the roaches and Ravages moved out of position. The Immortals don't need a very long time to force a cancel. Can PiLi get the cancel? Oh my goodness, I thought they almost landed on the bar prism, but they didn't. Very well done. I mean, PiLi is kind of destroying Namshar so far in this game.
This is some gnarly prism control, but this is what we were talking about, right? This is one of the ways you can pin somebody back, but like 2 immortals and a warp prism can do a wild amount of damage. Don't hate it. Look at that. Starts up the 4th hatchery too. So he wants to have that extra mining base at some point. So I think the reason why you do that, right, is you don't care if he's going to cancel this one now. It's not as big of a deal if you can try to do an attack on the other side of the map, but he's got that high ground 3rd set up. Roaches are going to try to run to the natural and perhaps the main.
Yeah, this can now actually get a little bit awkward. PiLiPiLi is going to have to choose, what do I want to prioritize? What is the most important location for me? Please recall that prism, PiLi. There you go. That's going to make your life a little bit easier. Colossi spot at a very unfortunate moment, but there is a War Prism that can save the Colossi at the same time. We do have the big fight happening as well. Namshar is really going in deep. Nate, can he break Pili?
He's trying, but there's still 2 Colossi alive at the third base. He's getting a ton of damage onto it, but we see that overcharged battery is going to be enough to keep him alive, and GG's called. PiLiPiLi gets on the board, ladies and gentlemen. He does, in fact, pick up a map in this best of 5. So not all is not lost just yet for him.
I mean, that was also a very weird game. I know that this is the sentence we probably frequently use when we cast DreamHack Masters North America, but Namshar wanted to go for an all-in, and I think he wanted to first distract PiLiPiLi with all the hatcheries, and then Pili wouldn't scout, and then the roaches and lynx can show up, and he could maybe get the W. Then he really committed to it because he made all those roaches and a couple of zerglings as well of 16 drones, which means you're pretty damn all-in as a zerg. But then his overlord sees that Pili is getting ready for it. Second battery, extra pylon, full wall off. And I'm just like, well, I could try, but then I'm gonna lose. So you know what I'm gonna do? I won't commit. I'm gonna try to macro up. But then I think he psyched himself out where he's like, if I build too many drones, he's gonna attack me and I'm gonna die. So I'm gonna build nothing but units and wait until he attacks me. And then Pili is like, he's building nothing but units of 2 hatcheries. I'm gonna wait until he attacks me. And then it just became a very weird game. He's like, what if I send my Prism out with 2 Immortals? Like, well, turns out you can have a lot of fun against a Zerg with 2 queens, by the way, Nate. There were 2 queens that entire game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot to unpack there, for being honest. Like, the roaches that were sitting outside for so long, Namshar's hesitance to move out gave a tremendous amount of time to Pili to actually build those Colossi, get range, and if the Immortals hadn't felt like they had been so cost effective, like he would have felt like there was more of a pressure to keep them on the map, trying to deal damage rather than recall them. So I think that Namshar also, you put yourself in a bad spot because you're hoping to do something cool and you can't make it happen, but at the same time you're also like, I don't know, you gotta try to force it at some point if you're up 2-0. If the whole point was to cheese him because you're trying to finish it fast, you might as well just do it, right? Ride or die.
I gotta say though, it was nice to see Namshar do a build like that because I feel it's very uncharacteristic. I've always seen Namshar as a very standard Zerg where it's like basically take a look at a Serral build order in his most passive game and be like, all right, that's how I want to play. And then, add a little bit of extra passiveness to his, and there is Namshar. But apparently he's like trying to open up and go for a couple of more crazy strategies. I just hope for Namshar that he doesn't lose this game, because I feel like then he's going to freak himself out. He's going to probably beat himself up for doing the build he did in game 3. And he's like, oh my God, all of a sudden we're in game 5, tournament live on the line. So I kind of hope, at least for his sake, that this man is going to be able to close it out here in game 4. Born in Sweden, living in Canada, it is Namshar.
And his opponent in the bottom left position, spawning as the blue Protoss player, he is PiLiPiLi.
NA really does bring something special every time, doesn't it, Nate?
Every time, without fail, Roddy. Without fail, you're going to get some crazy games, you're going to get some shenanigans, you're going to get some epic fails, and you will also get the occasional epic win. People making things happen in a manner that you did not previously believe was possible in a game of StarCraft. But I agree with you, for Namshar's sake, play this one straight up, play it solid, and try to just take home the dub with a good old macro game.
Yeah, it is very, very important thing for Namshar that he gets a great final result in this season. Like, I think losing against Scarlet or Neeb is acceptable, and of course Estrella as well. But besides that, I really think that Namshar holds himself to higher standards than not making it out of the group in the previous season. And the season before was, I believe, a top 6 finish, like 4-6. And that's all right, but I don't think that even really sparks a lot of joy to someone like Namshar.
Yeah. So the Nexus starts up, Probe comes in. You see a pool that's halfway done. Zerg is getting gas. So we have seen a couple of these weird builds by Namshar, though, where he's like, I'm going to go for a lair, and then I'm not going to really do anything with it. I'm trying to psych you out or make you do something weird. But, Kev, if there was something that I was going to say really stands out to me about this series, it's that between all the shenanigans from either players, that PiLiPiLi hasn't tried to just, like, do what everybody else has been doing. Like, oh, I'm going to go Stargate, try to go into like big air. The only Stargate thing we saw was the fake +1 air before he did that, what, 6-7 gate all in?
Yep, 7 gate with a Robo and 1 Immortal. Now, Pili definitely just has his own build, right? He's always been a player that just kind of believes in his own openings, in his own timings. And it does make sense to do what you do best. Like, why would you want to copy everybody else and then, like, have probably worse execution than some of the best guys out there? Or when instead you can do your own stuff that you feel comfortable with, that you know the timings of, that you know how to control the armies properly as well. Like, all of these guys are good at StarCraft. But if all of a sudden you're forced to control armies that you don't play with all the time, well, Namshar on the other end is playing with the units he does play with every time, you're going to come up short, right? It's better to do what you do best, and that is what we see out of here from PiLiPiLi.
Yeah, and I agree with you. He's definitely shown that prowess, right? We saw that with the Prism control. We even saw that with the Disruptor Colossus control. We joked about the back and forth, but I really think that's just a lack of mixing something else in with it. Not that it itself is a bad move to play that little dance, because if he does get the disruptor hits that he's looking for, it's going to be a pretty easy game to close out. But to create those opportunities for your opponent to make mistakes by doing the disruptor, dance, but also sending in, a Warp Prism or a Zealot run by to an external base, you really need to, I think, looking at this series for PiLiPiLi, you need to find ways to do multi-prong harass. It's always just a big fight, or it's the whole army all together. And I think that's been a weakness that Namshar has been able to pretty easily exploit. He hasn't really been forced to sweat all that much.
Super early Roach Warren by Namshar, like giving the standards of a macro game. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And I generally believe this is just a safety Roach Warren, where Namshar is like, well, he does have a lot of free supply, actually. He's even getting the Spine Crawl already. What? Why are we getting a Spine Crawl in Namshar? What are you so worried about? Is he reading this as Resonating Glaive at depths? He must be.
I guess. I don't think Spine Crawlers are really going to do much for you against a Disruptor drop, but...
He really shouldn't be building roaches now. This is so crazy. Okay, and he goes back into droning. I think Namshar is just a bit freaked out, man. I think he's kind of worried. Like, for us, these are all funny games, like, everybody's doing their own thing, and he's so funny. But obviously for the players, there's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of prestige on the line. Namshar really wants to show the world how good he is by having an epic run in DreamHack NA, not just pick up some easy money, but potentially qualify for the season finals as well. So I guess he's just a bit nervous.
Yeah, well, that layer is finally coming in, but Gravitic Drive, I'm interested to see it. Let's see what Pili can do here with what he wants to have had at this phase of the game. Hasn't really been slowed down in reaching this point. Hasn't really been slowed down in getting to this position. It's going to be the Disruptor. Couple of Stalkers to poke as well. I like that a lot because the Observer is here. This is just a really smart play, saying, yeah, I'm going to try to use this Disruptor, but boom, you sent your Roaches for my Stalkers? He only gets one, but that's just good control by Namshar.
Yeah, this is still just very nice play by Pili. I honestly like it. Sending the Observer, sending the Prism, pushing the creep back a little bit, and then even setting up the tiny trap with the Disruptor inside of the Prism, even though it didn't really work out. It's still cool to see.
Yeah, no, I'm completely agreeing with you though. Like, Namshar's doing this reasonably decently. I like the way that Pili kind of like pieced together this build. I like the 2 Stalkers with the Disruptor because the Stalkers kill the creep tumors forever. And then if you send the Roaches, if you send the Lings, then you have the opportunity to get the big Purification Nova and kill their actual army. Just with a creep clearing force, which is something that we don't really see a tremendous amount of focus on from Protoss players.
Okay.
Well, good save on the Disruptor there.
He did let it finish, right? The shot killed a couple of Zerglings. A few Links went down. Namshar's now going to go up to 4 bases already. Doesn't want to find himself in the same position as he was in on Oxide, which obviously is a map that's a bit similar to Pillars of Gold. I love what Pili is doing here with these Stalkers, indeed. Like, Namshar has lost like 7 creep tumors now. He's going to end up losing a couple of Roaches as well. This is cool stuff by Pili. I really like it. And his macro at home is pretty clean this game as well. Up to 53 workers. We're getting Blink on the way. +1 attack is on the way. This honestly all looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, I like what I'm seeing. Like what I am seeing. Roach speed's finishing up. We're going to start Baneling speed. Tons of Ravagers coming out. But Colossus range is almost done as well. Ollie also moves into Blink. And we know that those are the units that Pili has been controlling the best, right? He's been doing some good stalker control, Colossi control. I'm not going to say that maybe he needs to dive into a bunch of blinding clouds to fight against Hydralisks again, but if he could do some good poking and prodding between the disruptors and the stalkers and actually take bases and whatnot, then he can carve himself a path to victory, because this seems to be a very mid-game focused army out of Namshar, not really making any big tech jumps forward, that's where Pili struggled, because he just didn't go for Templar at all, and then Vipers ripped him to pieces.
Yep, and this time just the army is going to be a lot better from Pili, right? Because last time when he got Blinker +1, well, he was already kind of behind because the first attack didn't really work out. This time that is going to be the first attack, so it's going to show up a lot quicker. Now Namshar is obviously playing a slightly different game here as well, because we saw the Baneling Nest +1 melee is on the way, Baneling speed is being researched, so it is very important for Pili to figure this one out. Can we get a queen kill? Yes, we can. Well done. But he needs to know that he's going up against Banelings as well. Otherwise, there is a chance that he's just going to get surrounded from multiple angles. Or, well, he can only get surrounded once, I guess, right? But the Namshar will come in from multiple angles. And if the Banelings connect with the sentries, well, then the rest of this army is not very powerful anymore. So I hope that Pili can figure that one out.
Yeah, so finally going for the melee upgrades, I think, is something really important to point out, though, because you're basing a lot of what this type of army can do from Namshar on the Lings and obviously the Banelings to somewhat of a lesser degree. They're not quite, don't have the same punch for Stalkers as they used to, but being able to create any opportunities for Lings to get surrounds on those units is also really crucial for this type of army to succeed. But I mean, he's got so many Ravagers. He's going to try to keep dancing with this space for a long time. And he's done a decent job of dodging so far.
The roaches, Nate. The roaches in the natural. PiLiPiLi hasn't seen it yet. His Colossi just walked by. A couple of great force fields go down on the top right side by Pili. So this is great news, but he's about to lose a whole bunch of probes in his own natural, and that's very painful.
Yeah. You know, actually quite unfortunate that the Warp Prism was also brought back by that recall. So that's kind of an interesting situation now, as the potential to reinforce or retreat here has been greatly diminished, and the Ravagers and Banelings just run up on top of everything, recognizing that the Corrosive Bile is on cooldown, or that the Nova is on cooldown, but he can't recall. There's no Prism to try to save any of these units with either.
Yep, and there's no Immortal here to help out, take care of those roaches. Can the Nova make the difference? Doesn't really seem like it. The Disruptor is in trouble. The last two Colossi are in trouble as well. And this is not an army that's easily rebuilt, Nate. That's a lot of very expensive Robo units going down. Fantastic counterattack by Namshar, though. Sneaking those roaches into the natural, I think, is what really set him up for victory here. So he will be the one moving